Greetings, nerds. This is SNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. 1 week for the Batman.
The Batman. Yeah. The Batman and the cat. The Bat and the Cat.
The Bat and the
from what
Cat.
I understand.
Yeah. I guess they had a screening yesterday and in the UK, and it sounds like it was very. Matt Reeves did not disappoint, from what I've gathered.
I don't think that this movie will disappoint. What I do think, though, is it's getting to the point where the hype definitely going to, I think some expectations are a bit too high.
Yeah.
It's also a long ass movie.
It is. I was reading an article this week about that. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but I think we've talked about offline about the runtimes for some of these films lately. And there was I was reading an article this week, I think, about runtimes and how especially in this genre they have really gotten 3 hours is starting to become like almost the norm. But also,
especially for superhero movies.
Yeah, and I also knew that the latest James Bond film, but then again, when you look at some of the old classics like Gone with the Wind and others, I mean, they were even longer. So I guess it's all relative. So
yeah, maybe it's just it's interesting because the younger generations shorter attention spans.
Mm-hmm.
And yet these movies are kind of directed towards them, and yet they're longer. So
yeah. And plus, over the last couple of years, everybody's gotten used to, the streaming model too, where maybe same day, same, stream and theater release. And of course, if you're sitting at home and you just kind of chilling on your couch, you can stop and pause, build in your own intermission, but you can't really do that in the theater these days. So.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
But we do have some news to get to. We'll talk about the Batman soon enough in a few weeks after we finally have seen it and not just like the 2000 trailers that get played all day, every day.
Yeah, goodness, yes.
In the news, we have a few odd ends, not too big of news, but Arrow alumni Juliana Harkavy was cast in the LA Law revival, and it is also written and produced by Mark Guggenheim. Go figure.
Yeah. So, recovering lawyer Mark Guggenheim is heading up the revival of the 80s and early 90s LA Law, which I think a couple of members of the original cast are going to be in it. I think Blair Underwood and Corbin Burnson. This is one of the shows I watched growing up that I guess probably inspired me to be a lawyer. But and of course, just like the original show, the new show is going to be kind of like Law and Order and others, ripped from the headlines, very incendiary cases that the firm will be handling. So, but Juliana, she's of course we played one Black Canary, Diana. Mm-hmm. She has got her first, I guess, recurring. I mean, this is a regular lead gig, so for the show, and sounds like she and her partner will be, I think, a partner in a law firm, and just like all of these shows, there's always like the romantic tension between former partners, and then they end up fighting against each other in a courtroom. So go figure.
I already fell asleep. Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, well, that's just that was a description of the character that she and another lead of the show are playing. But obviously, they'll have the incendiary cases and stuff. That'll definitely, hopefully, there'll be more sparks there in the courtroom than the drama around the law office.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be a CW show.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets put on the CW. Mark Guggenheim.
Yeah.
No, the last law show I watched was Suits, and I didn't finish the series. But I remember enjoying the first few seasons of it very well.
Oh, yeah.
But good for her, and potentially we might talk about it. You never know these days.
Yeah.
In other casting news, and I haven't seen this show, The White Lotus, so I don't know this guy.
Yeah, I did not. Yeah, I did. I was. It was on my intention to watch, but I did not. I haven't had a chance to watch it either. But in another show that he's also in, just what we're talking about here is news about Kraven the Hunter. We have our Chameleon. And
are you going to say his name?
Yeah, yeah. And the actor, I was about to. Yeah, it's Fred Hechinger.
Hechinger.
Yeah, Hechinger. Thank you. It's been a long day. But yeah, but he also is in the current Hulu series Pam and Tommy, which is another thing that I have on my watch list that I haven't gotten to yet.
Me neither. You would think I would have seen that by now because Sebastian Stan is in it, but nope, haven't watched it. I did finally sit down and start watching season 2 of Euphoria. Because I tried. This is gonna be really bad. I tried watching Mrs. Maisel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I made it almost to the end of the first episode, and then I was just like, I am not paying attention. I don't know what's going on right now. I'm just not in the right headspace to watch this. And I don't think I was in the right headspace to watch Euphoria because I got through 6 of the 7 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. It's Euphoria. I have forgotten just how graphic and fucked up Euphoria can be. And yeah, they within the first 5 minutes, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Euphoria. Oh, this isn't like something to watch early in the day on a Sunday. Weird. But yeah, Zendaya is going to get another Emmy. And I think as long as this show continues, she's probably going to get nominated at least for an Emmy every season. Like she's going to be Bryan Cranston until this show is end, because the character is like built for awards, and then her performance as this character, Rue, it's crazy. It is crazy. She is an MJ in this series. I'll just say that. She's not MJ at all.
She's not MJ. Yeah. I haven't. Yeah. I've heard. I haven't watched Euphoria. Maybe one day I'll go back and get caught up. But yeah, everything I've heard about it, it's just I'm like, okay, I need to watch this. I need to set aside some time and get caught up with this show.
Will, I tell you time and time again, you're not allowed. Fathers and daughters are not allowed to watch Euphoria. They're just not.
Yeah, I know. That, every time I sit down, like every time I turn on the HBO Max and I see it, and your voice starts ringing in my head. So it's just like, okay.
Turn back. I mean, and granted, I don't even know if it's fathers of just daughters, because there are male characters who have some pretty screwed up stuff happen to them as well.
Yeah.
I just think it's parents in general with kids who are at that age in late middle school, early high school, where you're like, so much is out of your control, and there's so much heartbreak, and these kids are just so effed up. I totally get that. And I guess I hear enough about it in real life that I guess I don't need to like spend my leisure time like revisiting it, watching it on the screen. Right. I don't have kids, and I was watching it like, why am I like this? This is a really screwed up show. I mean, it's well written, and there was a pretty interesting episode which I wasn't expecting that occurred, where it was basically like Rue was on the run from the police for the entire episode, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, we went there. But that's the episode she's gonna get the Emmy for. Like her performance in that. But I could go on about that, but we're not here to talk about it, because we try to cover things that we both have seen.
Yeah, we try. Yeah.
So on that note, the last bit of random entertainment news we have for y'all is Krypton alum Aaron Pierre is set to co-star opposite Mahershala. I do know how to pronounce that name, Mahershala, in Marvel's new Blade pick.
Yeah,
They're still making Blade.
They are still making Blade. Delroy Lindo is also in this new Blade film as well. But yeah, I was very excited, mainly because we always have to drop a Krypton reference in our show, and so it was just set up for me. I had to put it on the rundown for this week.
Definitely.
Yeah, but good for him. He's also Aaron is also going to be in the prequel Disney Plus show for The Lion King as Mufasa.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So he's got a lot of things in the Disney pipeline right now.
Yeah. Speaking about the Disney pipeline, okay, I was just online the other night, minding my own business, and I just see this weird trailer for this show that's, I guess, is coming to Disney Plus called The Kardashians.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I missed that.
Yeah. I didn't get that memo either. But it looks like they've been filming and it's going to drop sometime next month on Disney Plus.
Huh. So
which I guess kind of makes sense because I mean, I used to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians on Hulu, and I know Hulu and Disney Plus are subsidies or whatever, but still it's just weird. I'm like, what are the what?
I mean, is there like a hook, like Will Smith's, like Will Smith's got a new show on Disney Plus as well, but he's still
it's them. It's basically Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but like on Disney Plus. Called the Kardashians. They got rid of the old name.
Wow. Well, I guess no one can keep up with them. So
I'm just So
this is Kardashians, and just people will just tune in. Yeah. I guess another way to get subscribers.
Disney Plus doesn't need more subscribers, okay?
Yeah.
they do just fine with the amount of shows.
Yeah.
And movies.
They really do. Yeah, even like the day I was seeing where the new Discovery Plus, where they've acquired HBO, on all the Warner properties, are like, we're not going to get into a streaming arms race with the other places. We just want to compete.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So we do have DC shows to talk about tonight. And let's start with Naomi, and we're going to head to camp, Alien Camp.
Yep.
This episode. Oh, my Scooby-Doo gang. Yeah. I remember the last time we were talking about Naomi, I was talking about how it was so weird to me that the love square randomly fixed itself just like very suddenly. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate in this episode how who's the guy?
Yeah.
I'm like blanking on his name.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name too, but yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy, yeah.
The guy who she likes or is now with, I guess.
Is it Nathan? Or is that the other? Right. Or is that the other character? I'm blanking on his name right now. I will fix that in a minute. But yeah, I know that. Yeah, but she has a flashback 7 months prior with the character that they did kiss at the end of the break episode right before the break for the Olympics, and then when we rejoin them this week after the Olympics break, they are going back to the first go around when they were together. And
I didn't get that.
Yeah. So
okay, so we'll just put where I was started and went in a completely different direction. Okay, are you looking up his name?
Yeah, I'm looking up his name right now.
Okay. So this is awkward. This is weird because you went in a completely different direction than I was gonna go into.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So what direction were you going to go?
I was just going to say that I like the fact that...
Yeah,
what?
His name is Nathan.
Okay. I just was going to say that I like the fact that Nathan called her out on her BS for randomly like breaking up with him, and then in a very short period of time being like, I want to be with you. I like that. But they also did soil it a bit because like, this whole thing about fear, they did this on Batwoman as well. Like, how many times do we have to hear those speeches? How many times, people?
Yeah.
I was afraid to be with you because I was afraid to lose you and get hurt.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. We've heard this, like, it is a reoccurring theme with a lot of shows these days. And it's just like, come on, come give us something original. But I guess, when all is done, we go to the writer's room crutch of fear of like something happening to you, blah blah blah. So especially in this genre, it's like, we got to check that box.
Yeah, and Ryan has a little bit more of like, she's lived a little bit longer or a lot longer than Naomi, and she actually has had a lot of loss where Naomi hasn't.
Right.
So she doesn't have too much to back up those statements with.
Yeah, I guess with Naomi, I can see where they're coming from, because she is, when you're a teenager, it's that there is that fear of like that first relationship, or that fear of rejection, or falling too fast or whatever. I mean, when you think back as a teenager and that first time you have that first real crush, or that first real true dating relationship with someone, it is scary. And so I guess from that standpoint, it makes sense as far as what she was saying to him at the, that she reacted the way she did in the 7 months prior. So I guess, I guess it makes sense. I agree with your point though, that, Ryan definitely has more life experience and other reasons for why she would, react that way. But, in a teenage context with Naomi, I can see that point as well.
Yeah. The other thing there were a few other things going on in this episode. The one that I want to talk about is Zambado and Dee team up to go after this bounty hunter. And it's like a semi team up. I was expecting a little bit more, but they decided to focus on the alien camp story arc, not my preference.
Yeah.
We did find out though, well, we found out some things, but not a whole lot. Like, this is another recurring theme of the show. We can only get so much information.
Yeah.
So we know Zambado knows who sent the bounty hunter. And Dee shouldn't be worried about it, but he is definitely worried about it. But he also mentions at the very end another name that was on the bounty hunter's list, who happens, and I believe it's the name of Dee's love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right there. Yeah.
So which then leads into, okay, so then what's the connection between that person and Naomi and what happened? And
because I mean, we've learned that Dee and the Thungarians were sent there to help watch over her and Naomi, and Zambado, who was part of the I guess on Earth 29, seems to be the leader of the factions that was causing a lot of the strife and stuff on that planet, and which I guess led them to escape and leave, and they all end up on Earth Prime, where we are now. But yeah, I wish they really did. You're right. I wish they had really dug in more this episode with what was going on between them, because the Scooby-Doo gang stuff was, I mean, they did tie it back to the larger things with Earth 29, especially when they went down into the base, the vault at the cabin, and found that box with again more of the alien script that looks like the same inscriptions from Earth 29 as well. And of course, and also the other thing that they're continuing is on with the theme is whatever powers that those items have definitely messes up people from Earth Prime, because Anthony, whenever he was down there, he blacked out. There's been other people as well when they've come across those things to get sick, and even going back to, I think, to the first or second episode where the kids talked about the lost time that they had when they saw the spaceships land when they first came to Earth Prime. So the show, it's one of those things where there's like, I don't feel like it's a cohesive whole yet. It's still finding its way. There's like different elements of it that work really well. I think obviously Naomi, that Casey Wallfall, who plays her, she's amazing. I think she's has that chops to be the lead. The Scooby-Doo gang, I could take them or leave them.
Yeah.
At this point, I feel like they're distracting. Annabelle's not too bad. At least Annabelle's again is another character that will call her out when she needs to be called Naomi out. So I think from what I gather, a lot of the Scooby-Doo gangers were just people that were created for the show. They weren't in the comic book, so that's there's that aspect of it as well. But the other thing that was really that irritated me about this episode was Naomi's parents and the lab. I mean, I was like, really? Really? You're in the military. You're not going to like sneak into a lab and spit samples and then not get caught on camera. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that was the most clumsy cover-up I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think it was intentionally, looking back on it, that clumsy, but it didn't work. It was so weird. But I think you're right. I think the show definitely is still trying to find its rhythm. It's really focused on this whole mystery as opposed to and I can appreciate this to an extent with the whole, like, here's your hero, here's your main bad guy, and along the way they're gonna become this hero.
Mm-hmm.
But the show's Naomi, so it's about Naomi figuring out who that is. As a young adult, as a young person who also finds out that she's an alien. But I feel like they're holding back on the comic book stuff to try, and I don't know why. I think it's almost as if they want the show to be different to a detriment. Because it's not allowing what the show is really about it's not allowing the show to be what it is, which is a superhero show at the end of the day. So I think that this mystery can only go on so long, and to your point about the Scooby-Doo gang, the characters are fine, the actors need some work, but I feel like part of the reason why those characters don't work is because they don't have any. It's always connected to Naomi.
Yeah, she's a Mary Sue.
They don't have their own arcs. They don't have their own stories. It's always a connection to her. And which is causing those characters to kind of be like, okay, we can do without this because we don't need to invest in them. But then again, they're in every episode.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and they're all doing their little thing, and then to your point where they're holding back on the superhero stuff. I mean, but then Naomi does a superhero thing. Like, for example, when Anthony was attacked by the camp counselor, who turns out to be looks like he's also from Earth 29. She did a superhero thing, and to get them out of that situation. So they're touching on it, but I think I feel like it's like 80% mystery right now and 20% superhero.
Yeah, they're pulling a Naomi. They're afraid of commitment.
Yeah, there you go.
They're pulling a Naomi.
They are pulling a Naomi. Yeah.
We'll stick with it. For me personally, I think this show, what I like about it so far is actually D. I find his character to be really interesting.
Yeah.
And I keep getting thinking about what you said in regards to how the adopted father was in the books an alien as well from one of the 29. And I think they're kind of using D in that way of being that kind of mentor but also father figure, which just makes me think like one of the parents have to go at the end of the season.
Well, I know, that's interesting. The next set of the comics are dropping soon, so I'll be interested to see what themes that the show has will carry over into the comics or vice versa. Yeah,
definitely. Since we've already brought her up, we might as well head over to Gotham and talk a little bit about Batwoman.
Yeah, let's get it out of the way.
So I was so confused by this episode, which is an ongoing theme with me and Batwoman so far, where I don't know if it was the editing. I wasn't paying attention. It's been 2 weeks since we've stepped foot in Gotham, but I was so confused by this whole sequence of like Alice, she gets the buzzer, she becomes Beth again, she gets her life back, and everyone hates her still because like they still have to deal with Marcus. But I guess that was a dream sequence? Yeah. Or did that happen?
It was a dream sequence.
Okay.
Which makes
very confused.
Yeah, it was a dream sequence, and the reason why it just didn't work is because Alice has had visions all throughout the season, right? Right. But none of them have been so like fleshed out to this like point where it was just like to where it was like, oh, this really did happen kind of thing. At least the other ones were kind of like, okay, she's seeing him out, she's having a vision, but we know it, we know what's going on. And I guess they were trying to like do the penultimate head fake, like, because we know when we left things off, they were trying to get the buzzer and whatnot. And I had
just assumed I fell asleep during that part and wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I had to think about it too. I was like, wait, no, did I miss something? And I guess that was what they were trying to play on with the first few minutes of this episode.
They almost did it too well, because we did like get it where it's like, oh no, that was all a dream. But I think having it occur after a 2-week break did not help it any. And I think overall this episode got screwed over because of that 2-week break, just because it's a long period of time to not be in Gotham, and then to be immediately inserted back into it and having to play catch up with where everything was. Yeah. And for them to do a head fake right after that, it was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was. And you're right. It was a disservice, especially given that it was the penultimate episode for the season. You don't, you just don't do that. I mean, it's
all about momentum, and you killed it.
There you killed it. You exactly. You nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't kill it as much as Marcus is killing the show, but yeah.
Marcus is the one thing I actually didn't mind this episode.
No, to an extent you're right, where I've seen worse diabolical plans. I forgot about the Black Glove Society. That was another thing that was weird.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing a few months ago.
Yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing. And I guess that, and it's really sad too, because I'm getting like how I am about the Flash with this show.
Yeah.
And which is not a good place, because I really, really did like Batwoman. And I still like it, but at the same time, it's like, and especially, this 2-week break, and also just thinking, just overall, when you have in a show like Peacemaker, for example, going, and then a show, and then Batwoman is gone for like 2 weeks. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's I had to remind myself, thank goodness for social media, because I was like, oh yeah, it's back this week. I didn't miss it when it was gone.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing for a show.
No, I agree. It is sad how much this show had going for it with the first 2 seasons. I mean, the second season had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
But I feel like with this, and I was really thinking about it. I was like, what? So here's my thing.
Yeah.
Just like what I was saying with Naomi, where it's almost like Naomi's too much involved with everything, where it all, like, these sub characters don't have independent arcs. I feel like with Batwoman, the issue is sometimes Ryan is hardly in the show, and when she is in the show, she gets handed like the most stupid, lazy storylines. Like this thing was Sophie and Ryan.
Yeah.
I called it from the get-go. We all know they rushed it. And then this whole there's nothing emotional going on. All she's doing is having, like, I felt it was more of a Sophie storyline this episode than it was a Ryan storyline. And I'm like, this is Batwoman. Yeah. Why isn't she more involved? I mean, everything, my girl Mary is still my girl, because I feel like with her story arcs, it always makes sense, and it always adds, I don't know, there's like an emotional tug there where I don't get that much with Ryan, and that's nothing about the actress who plays her or anything. It's more about just how Ryan is written lately.
Yeah, because Javicia, she is really, really a good actress, and also, and to think of what she's had to step into,
right,
taking over the lead of the show with all the drama and and a skeptical fandom and everything else. I mean, and I guess that and maybe that's the part of me that's like makes me so disappointed the way that how this season has unfolded and how they've written, because it started out okay. I mean, when we go back and listen to our earlier shows with third season, I think we were both like, okay, this is good. And then about that, I guess maybe the fourth or so episode, we were, starting to have our questions, and now we're just like, oh, okay, let's just get through this.
Yeah. There's just the whole introduction of Ryan's family way down the show, and then to have like the brother turn into the Joker. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
I mean, I will say kudos to them with introducing the Joker into the Arrowverse. It was comic accurate with the costuming and stuff. So there were some elements that were good. I think
I didn't mind that that bus was the one that crashed into Alice's.
I did like that. I did like that component too. I mean, I guess that's why when we first started talking about this episode tonight, I did enjoy Marcus's presence this week. Actually served a purpose, and it was it carried his story arc further and gave it a little bit more believability to what he's been doing over the course of the season, because the madness made sense, and especially whenever you have him and Alice, and again, Alice is the glue that holds everything together, because again it goes, everything goes back to Alice, because again, that was, I thought I did like that element of we were both created on the same day.
Yeah, and she may be the glue, but she's locked back up again.
Yeah,
so we'll see how long until she gets out.
For now, I mean, Mary, I think Mary will do her a solid, given that Alice did her a solid with taking responsibility for the death of the murder of the guy in the woods, the father in the woods.
Yeah, but see, if she took the fall for that, then I don't know. Like, it's part of the weird thing about Alice, and I called it out a few weeks ago, is she's technically not out of jail.
Right.
And so she's on the run. So if she does get out, she won't be exonerated. So she'll still be on the run.
Yeah, she will. She will.
So why doesn't she just leave? But
yeah.
Anyway, we do have one other show to talk about tonight. Superman and Lois is also back. The 2-week break, I don't think it hindered anything. I think there was just a little bit of momentum loss. However, they immediately jumped back in and did some very quick bringing us up to speed and remembering where things were left off, only to dive into this episode where some stuff happened.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode this week. I felt like there were some things happened. Things moved forward in a good way. I think
you're gonna have to make sure I understand the stuff with Ailee. Like, I didn't get all of the references.
So I think with Ailee, so we start out the episode, we go back to when she's a kid. I guess we learned that her she inherited this stone, this necklace with a gem in it that apparently has a way to, basically, it's a cross-dimensional transport. And I think I can't remember if that was the powers of the parasite from the comics or what, but I do remember that Ailee that this particular article, it is obviously, like everything, is based in the comic. I just can't remember the particulars right off the top of my head right now, but basically it has the ability to cross into other dimensions, and apparently this is something that her family, that has been in her family for generations, and so she was able to tap into that, and then she built this cult up around it.
Okay.
And so
there wasn't any tiebacks to previous villains who I may have heard about?
No, I mean, I think, but the one connection that I think that we did establish this week, was that the phone call when Dr. Faulkner was looking for Bizarro.
Yeah.
That's she was talking to Ailee on the other line. I know we suspect some, I think some theories was that it was Lex, but now it's definitely confirmed this week that it was Faulkner.
Yeah, I liked all that. Sorry, I was thinking that the name of her dad was someone who might have appered in Arrow or The Flash before as a villain of the week.
It might have, yeah.
For some reason, I had that impression. Like, I know that name, Alistair, before, and but I'm glad to know that that's not the case, because I wasn't behind. But yeah, you're right. The whole and we kind of talked about this when the second season first premiered, is that the show does well not only because the family, the Kents, and the community, but the villains are done really well, where they're doing this bait and switch with us, where you have Bizarro Superman running around, and you think like, okay, well, Allie's clearly just a sub villain for Lois, but now we've realized that no, the big bad this season has been Allie for the both of them, especially based on what Bizarro Superman told him at the end of it.
Yeah.
And so I really liked that. I liked how Chrissy went in and got ascended, whatever that means. But even though she realized that Allie's been telling the truth, she also saw and did not get blinded by that feeling of like, this is real, but realize how dangerous that truth is to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
The one thing that I didn't care for, and it's just because it was so telegraphed, was the Langs. Everything going on with the Cushings in this episode.
Yeah.
Just how Sarah found out, like, it was well acted when she confronted her dad about the affair. And I like what, like, Lana didn't kind of run away from it either. But it was kind of telegraphed, like, okay, this is gonna come out very quickly.
Yeah. I saw it. Yeah, it was totally telegraphed. That was I think there were two weaknesses I thought that were, well, maybe two or three weaknesses in the episode. That was one of them. The way, because as soon as Jordan and Sarah walked out, get the air out, and I was like, oh, and Kyle was already out there talking to Tanya, I think her name is, and so yeah, I was like, they're just gonna find out. Yeah, so I didn't like that part, but what I did, but I will disagree with you a little bit with Lana. I did like the fact that she already knew about the affair, because
I like the way Lana's with it.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, well, maybe it was just a telegraph, I guess, with the whole telegraphing piece of it. But yeah, I agree. Okay, so we do agree there. I do like that fact too, because I guess it gives, and I was also going to say, it gives deeper context to some of the other things that has been going on in the past, as far as where his alcoholism, and I guess because he was feeling guilty, and so they didn't take the way out with prolonging that drama, as far as having that story take away valuable screen time this season, with them dealing with her discovering the affair for the first time.
What was the other thing you didn't like about this show?
The parallel dimensions again, with the Bizarro and the Ailee connection. I feel like it's a little, and also Clark and Anderson's dynamic with the lack of trust. I feel like it's a repetitive of season 1. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched season 1, so for some reason it didn't feel too similar, but I can see that comparison.
Yeah.
I was worried. I thought you were gonna say the boys, their drama.
The boys' drama, I actually, it didn't bother me too much. I mean, the boys' drama was just like, okay, we saw it, with Jonathan taking the next kryptonite. Like, actually, what I thought about every time he does the inhaler, I think about Titans. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah. And
no, I agree. Like, for some reason, I don't think that should have worked. I think that should have annoyed me. But just the way they built it up in the first 4 episodes of this season with Jonathan, and it being more of a football rivalry thing, that in this episode, when it took that turn to suddenly he's becoming using it to show up against his brother who does have powers, like that jealousy that should have been there in season 1 is starting to come out.
Yeah.
And I think the tension makes them a little bit more real because Jonathan has just been way too cool about this.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's why it works. I mean, you're right. I mean, they built it up very well, where he was just like the supportive brother, and now he's like, wait a minute.
and then even how he convinces Jordan not to tell mom and dad and everything. I think the cover up is very smart. It's gonna come out eventually.
Yep.
But I appreciate what they're doing with that right now.
Yeah, I do too. And of course with that cover up with General Lang and his General Lane and his training out both boys, and just and the fallout from that will also add to the gut punches that Lois and Clark are going to will feel when all this house of cards comes crashing down.
Definitely. Anything else?
No, I think, again, like I said, I think this was a good episode, brought things forward in a good way. And the other, the thing that I did miss, but they did talk about, John Henry, but we did learn he's getting better and stuff. So, one of the things I did like about, even though I was a little critical with the parallel dimension aspect, parallels with the dimensional aspect that we saw with John Henry and the evil Superman last season and Bizarro this year, is but I did like that how they developed Bizarro in the episode, where we did get him, Clark was adapted, realized what was going on, took him into the mines that used the X kryptonite to subdue him, and then took him to the fortress, and they were able to find out more about him and why he was doing what he's doing, and that connection with Ailee. So yeah, I think everything on the board got moved forward in a good way this episode, and I didn't feel like they were coming back from a break spinning their wheels.
Yeah, no, I agree. It took just a little bit of time to get readjusted and remember where everyone left off. And then before you know it, you're talking to Bizarro Superman, and you're like, okay, now I get the trajectory we're on for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. Yeah. An episode without John Henry is always felt, because his presence is pretty big. But we knew, like, they didn't pull the plug on him or anything. They just put him in timeout. Yep. They had to put him on the cooler, getting a little too hot with Lois. Okay, come on.
Exactly.
Come on. Well, on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk on Twitter, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me on Twitter at SJ Belmont, on Twitter at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at SNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and visit our website, www.snnnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, geek out. You're welcome.